Hey, this is Scott from Statues, and you're listening to Collision with Kat.
Hi, Scott. How are you?
Good.
That's good. We actually, we've had a chat before.
Yeah. I remember I was at Wrangler, actually, doing a show there when we last talked. So it was like 3 years ago.
Well, I'm not sure because I thought, should I go and listen back or not? And then I thought, no, because I know it's a long time ago and I want to make it fresh anyway. And, a lot of people might not have heard that one, so I'm going to just start fresh.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, my perspective has probably changed in some way, like everyone changes over a long period of time. So
yeah,
no doubt we'll have something new to talk about. So.
Well, I'm sure you guys are growing with your sound and your live show.
Yeah, totally. I mean, this record was it was adventurous for us in numerous ways because, obviously it being a concept album was it was the first concept record I've ever written myself as a musician, let alone with Statues. So that was like a big new experience for us, and just having a new drummer and new vocalist since last time we spoke as well, which has kind of changed the outlook and the direction for us a little bit as well. But we're really keen to just do what we do, regardless of all of that. We're just writing and playing stuff that we want to play. So
well, definitely having a new vocalist alters a band's sound as well as what they write about. Is that why you decided to go for a concept album? Did Alex have something to do with that?
I think in terms of Alex's voice compared to Jim's and Mike's in the past, there's something about his timbre that it's so much more raw, I feel. But really, in terms of the concept album, it was we all kind of floated the idea, because I'd kind of started writing a couple of tunes on my own, and they had this particular kind of feeling to them that really reflected this kind of sense of urgency. And me and Matt, being 90s prog nerds, we were like, well, let's do a concept record and kind of write a story about it. So we floated the idea to the band, and everyone was really keen to do it. So we just kind of got amongst it, basically. And Alex was really keen to put himself in a creative box that kind of gave him some restrictions but allowed him to write in a completely different way. So it was just cool that everyone was super on board with giving it a go. And yeah, we're really stoked with the result.
Awesome. And it was released in November, wasn't it, last year?
Yeah.
So what sort of reception have you been getting with it so far?
It's been a slow grow, and I guess we were kind of expecting that because it's been a little while since we've released anything, and with the lineup change as well, people, we don't expect people to come back with the same amount of confidence about what we're doing immediately, but it seems like it's kind of just slowly getting out there. And honestly, we've heard nothing but positives about the record as well, which is really awesome. So it seems like everyone who's listened to it has been really on board with what we're doing, and there's some subtle changes in direction with sound and all that kind of stuff, and everyone seems to be really getting into it, which is awesome. So the reception's been super positive. So we're really happy.
So you're kind of searching for some of your old fans to get on board with the new sound, but you're also looking for new fans with this sound.
Yeah, totally. There's something in this record that kind of sounded a lot like some of our earlier stuff, before our first record, because we had this sort of I don't know, I guess it's got a twinge of that new wave emo kind of sound in there, which is kind of what we were doing really early on in 2010, 2011. But then we kind of wanted to, we still love huge riffs and the big epic stuff as well. So we kind of wanted to get a good mix of ideas in there. And yeah, actually having the story and having to adhere to a storyline was really good for that, because it meant that there were certain songs that needed to be more mellow than others just by virtue of, the plot. So it actually kind of helped us be more diverse in terms of what we were doing musically.
I'm really surprised that it's about the Civil War.
Yeah, so basically the kind of overarching plot is it follows this character who's trying to flee a civil war, and he's trying to get his family to safety. And it's basically it's like a tragedy story where, he seems to be able to get himself out of the current state of adversity, but then there's something else that comes along that continues to, cause him strife. He loses a family member, and he ends up getting put into a boat and is permanently detained in another country. I think the idea behind taking this angle with the story was to try and push aside some of the political discussion, because I think once things get politicized, the thing that gets lost in that conversation is the fact that these are real people who have real experiences. And we kind of wanted to hone in on that and to kind of try and connect the listener to the idea that, this is a real human experience, that there are people who have probably had a fairly similar run through life. And rather than seeing it as statistics, you see it like right from the ground. At least that was our idea.
Well, I really like the concept for No Grave, No Burial, because this like happens to so many people, whether it be through death or relationships, to actually have to grieve without having closure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a difficult topic. And yeah, that song in particular for us was like, it's cathartic for us. Definitely, like playing it and listening to it. And yeah, I guess it depends on how you want to frame it. Like you can frame it very literally, or like you can kind of interpret it metaphorically. And that's kind of half the beauty in music and in art in general, is that you can kind of take from it whatever you want. And that will, that's what then becomes valuable to you. It doesn't need to be the same message, doesn't need to be the same story. Like, yes, there's a hard story to what we've written, but if someone interprets it completely differently and they get something out of that, then that's equally as awesome. So, yeah.
It is a fine balance to, whether to tell people exactly what you wrote it about or whether to just let them do their own thing with it.
Yeah, I think that there was a bit of both. And because it is like a controversial topic, especially these days, we kind of wanted to let people, for the most part, just take from it what they wanted. Because we'd be very used to the idea of hearing the perspective of, what gives you the right to write a story about an experience that you know nothing of. And it's like, well, yeah, okay, fair enough. But I guess, the idea is that these sorts of experiences are happening to people. And just because we haven't experienced it ourselves doesn't mean we can't write a fiction about it. So, yeah, we wanted to try and steer clear of having conversations of that nature because, again, it pulls the whole topic back into politics, and really we weren't writing this story with that in mind. It was more so a humanitarian discussion than it was a political one, even though it gets politicized at certain points. So, yeah, we kind of decided, let people take from it what they want. If we need to have that conversation, we will. But if we don't have to, that would also be good.
So, the songs are standalone tracks, but then you can sit down and listen to the whole album and follow the story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's cool that you think that that's how it's translated, because that's kind of what we wanted to. We didn't want songs kind of like that needed to be listened to in a sequence in order for the songs themselves to be good. So we wanted to release tracks that worked well individually, but then as a unit, it's even stronger.
Well, having just listened to the tracks on their own first and not realising that it was actually a concept album, I can tell you the songs I've heard are definitely standalone songs.
Great. That's really cool.
And
I'm glad that
definitely
translates.
A cool sound.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the difference between No Grave, No Burial and Defiance in particular is pretty stark as well, because No Grave is, in our opinion, almost like a post-rock kind of tune compared to what else is going on that record. It's much more ambient and emotive. And yeah, Defiance is just sort of just a big, aggressive tune, sort of more akin to what we do normally. And yeah, we decided to take a risk by releasing the title track first, just to see whether people would respond to it, because it is quite different to what we're used to or what we're known for, I guess.
Yeah, I see what you mean, because Collapse, that's quite heavy compared to No Grave, No Burial.
Yeah, totally. I think No Grave and Dirge, the second last track of the record, those two in particular, sort of the real points of difference on the album that we kind of wanted to get people aware of, that they're not going to get another record like Together or Alone, which is really just 35 minutes of just getting your face punched in, which was the whole point of that record. So, if you want a record that does that, then that's kind of the point of that one. But this one was deliberately tailored to have some more ebb and flow to it. And I guess we wanted to try and introduce the fact that we're going to maybe be doing this more, not just on this record, but just in general, that we might find ourselves kind of navigating new sound. New territory sound-wise. So that influenced our decision to go with a more controversial first single, I guess, just to be hey, we're not just doing the super hyper-aggressive stuff, we're trying to vary it up a bit as well. So,
And his voice definitely suits both sounds.
Absolutely, yeah. It's hard to describe his timbre, but it just cuts through, it just cuts into you, and he has this ability to... He portrays the character in so many ways, which I think is really cool. Again, you don't always have to analyze it on this level, but I like the fact that he tailors his voice to suit the exact feeling of the character in that time as well.
He's a screamer, but he's emotive.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, in terms of the lyrical side of the whole record, that was all him. Like, no one else wrote a single word. So, yeah, when he came back with the lyrics and we, as a band, kind of read through it all, it was just like, whoa, like, this is incredible. I and everyone else, we were all just equally just blown away with what he had written and how succinct it was and how to the point it was. There's nearly no flowery language at all, which meant that you just get this direct link to the character, which I think is really cool. There's like no lacing of metaphor or whatever. It's just like literally what's going on in this dude's head.
And this is a character and storyline that you guys gave him, said, here it is, you have to write the album to go with this.
Yep. Yes, that's exactly what happened. Yeah, it was so like, I think there were a few moments of him like freaking out about this and being like, well, shit, but that's like, it's a huge weight on him, like on Alex to deliver. You know, we had a couple of meetings about, you know, what each song was going to reflect in the story. Once we had kind of fleshed out a skeleton for it, we kind of went a little deeper in each track and wanted to talk about what was going to happen in the story or whatever. And yeah, so we kind of collectively worked on the different plot points, and then literally it was just like, all right, here you go. And we gave it to Alex once the songs were all written up, and he just went to town on writing stuff. So yeah, it was a cool process, and I think it's awesome that we get to be in a band where we trust each other with these ideas, and we come out the other end with a record that we're all really stoked on, because there were definitely moments where each of us were doing things so individually that, you know, you could very easily write a whole song on your own and then come back to the band and everyone goes, nah, not a big fan. But it's like, that didn't happen once actually in the whole process. Everyone just was on the same wavelength from the beginning right to the end. So yeah, it's very cool. It was a very smooth process.
Yeah. According to my records, 3 years ago when we did chat, that was the last time you toured.
Yeah. Yep. In terms of headlining, yes, we did a national tour supporting Cursed Earth in the middle of last year, but this is the first headliner we've done in 3 years. Yeah.
Oh,
it's been a while.
Been cool.
Yeah. That tour was great.
That would have definitely introduced you to new fans too.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because I mean, for us, it's hard to stay up to date with what's going on the East Coast because we're just so detached from everything a lot of the time. So that was a cool opportunity to just like get out there, kind of, you know, get back into touring, because it had been a long time for us. Like there was a whole year where we didn't leave the state. So yeah, once we got that offer from Cursed Earth to do a run, we're like, oh man, let's do this. Like we were so psyched to just get out there and play again. So yeah, we're like just as excited to get back over again and do it all over again. So
well, that is the difficult thing being in Perth, is you're so far away and it is so expensive to get to the East Coast, but then it's vitally important too to do it on a regular basis.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, unfortunately, we had to leave Brisbane off this run. Like, we really wanted to do Brisbane because it's been a great spot for us, but literally we couldn't afford it. Like, we would need to find another date that worked, which would probably be another weekend, right? So, you know, the only option we really had was, maybe we do one show in Melbourne and go to Brisbane and then go home. But it's just doing that adds, you know, another 1,000 to 1,500 to your expenses. And it's like, yeah, and it's just, unfortunately, as much as it pains me to say it, sometimes it can't be justified. And yeah, so we just have to do what's within our means. So sorry to Brisbane, but we will try and make our way back over there at some point soon.
And so will Arteries.
Yeah, Arteries just released a new EP, This Will Destroy Us, and the EP is like super, super good.
They're doing all the shows with you?
Yeah, they're doing all the shows bar Adelaide, unfortunately. They couldn't make it to the Adelaide show, but they'll be doing Sydney, both Melbourne shows and both Perth shows with us, which is really cool. It's cool. I don't think they've been to Perth before. I'm not entirely sure, but either way, it's like wicked that they're making their way over to Perth as well, because it kind of just rounds things out really nicely. And, you know, we might also get proper opportunity to hang out because, you know, a lot of the time these tours kind of you just smash it out and you don't really get a lot of time to hang out and actually meet people. So, yeah, so it's going to be sweet. I'm really looking forward to it.
But you have, when this goes to air, you have done Adelaide on Thursday night.
Yeah.
And you are in Sydney tonight.
Yeah.
And then, like, tomorrow night, Saturday the 24th, you're at the Yarra Hotel in Melbourne.
Yep.
And that is, of course, with Arteries and Drive Time Commute and The Orphan.
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
And then Sunday you're at Wrangler Studios, I'm guessing an afternoon gig.
Yeah, I think it's from 2 till 6 from recollection. Yeah, so it's like an afternoon show.
And you've got White Crows and the Omnific at that one with you. And
yeah,
then
that one's going to be sweet.
The 3rd of March, you're back home at the Sewing Room in Perth. The Sewing Room, that's a funny name for a venue, I must say.
When you actually go into the venue, they've got a whole bunch of sewing machines hanging from the ceiling. It's pretty sweet.
So if you actually rock the place too hard, you could do physical damage to people if the sewing machines fall down.
Yeah, just like anvils from the ceiling just dropping on people.
It's a danger venue. You go there
it is.
At your own risk.
Get risky. That venue is actually really awesome. It's a new venue in Perth. It's a sick little space. So, yeah, we're stoked to be playing there. That venue is fantastic.
And I'm guessing the sewing machine's a nod to its history.
Yeah, probably. I actually don't know the history behind the building, but most likely, I mean, I guess, when you look at names of venues, there's always some kind of weird backstory. I can't say I know the backstory about that place, but it's fairly new.
Well, you do also have a gig the next day at the 4th of March at Vision Studios in Perth. And can I ask, are Arteries, they going to be at these 2 shows with you?
Yes, yeah, they're going to be coming over to Perth and playing those ones with us, which is really awesome. It's cool to just have more Eastern state bands coming over and playing shows. Yeah, like I said, I don't know whether they've been to Perth before. I can't recall, but either way, it's sick to have them playing on our side of the country as well. So that'll be awesome.
Yeah, definitely. It's a shame because there's so much desert between Perth and the rest of the country that there's nothing's ever going to change that, really.
Nope. It is a bummer. I mean, I think that there's something to be said about the music scene in Perth being better for it, in the sense that we kind of have to make our own fun over here, But yeah, there is also the part of us that wishes that we could just be a 2-hour drive away. But alas, that is not the reality.
I guess it's too, like, Perth maybe becomes a bit of a comfort zone for too many bands.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you get stuck in Perth mentality where you go, oh, how are we doing in Perth? Not, oh, maybe we should be trying to reach out and travel places and play in new cities and stuff like that. Because the what's what I'm looking for? The bar is set too high in the sense that, it's just too difficult to get out of Perth and play shows elsewhere. It's too expensive. There's too much of a hindrance in doing it. So most bands find themselves kind of playing the Perth circuit a lot and not really getting a lot of opportunity to go elsewhere. So, I mean, hopefully we can try and break that chain somehow. But yeah, it is very difficult for bands to kind of make Perth their home base.
Well, the ones that have ventured out on a regular basis generally end up making something of themselves too. They usually end up with a European label at least, or... Yeah,
absolutely. It's actually, I mean, this is kind of why I was saying before that there's something to be said about the fact that we're isolated, because it seems that there are so many bands from Perth that end up really killing it. Like in terms of original music, we've got Tame Impala, who are just, I mean, they're massive. You've got Carnival, you've got Birds of Tokyo, you've got Pond. And then, putting all of those bands aside, just looking at what's going on locally, even bands that aren't, exports, the caliber is so high here in a multitude of different genres. And I think it's because bands have to be that good to even get gigs in Perth. There aren't a lot of venues that can be played at, and they're usually booked well in advance. So you've got to be good to even get a show a lot of the time.
So you're striving. What's the end goal? Are you planning on trying to get over to Europe or something sometime soon?
I think because we've done some PR with my other band, Voyager's manager, Lulu Davis, lives in the UK, and she's done some PR for us for UK. So I think that'll probably be our target region is either Europe or UK to begin with. Right. But I know that they're actually, even though it's just a small handful, it's still mind-blowing to us, but we do have a couple of American fans who have let us know that, they're like, you guys need to come over to America and play. So, super motivating for us. It's really cool to hear the fact that our music has such a wide reach, and that people can just listen to it from anywhere is really inspiring to us. So hopefully we can try and get an overseas run somewhere in this album cycle.
I was going to say, when you were talking about the bands from Perth who are doing well, my first thought was like Voyager and how, they've got a European label, don't they?
No, we're actually completely independent, funnily enough. But we do have distribution overseas though. And in terms of like in terms of our popularity, we do fairly well in Europe and US as well, because we've been to both regions like multiple times. So, but you know, we're still growing, we're still learning. There's still a lot of work to be done. But yeah.
But when it comes to touring the East Coast and that, you've got a double hit because you've got two bands who are doing it on a regular basis.
Totally, yeah. So I mean, for me, it's I have to be very mindful of my personal budget. Let's just put it that way.
You have to work very hard when you're not doing band stuff.
Yeah, I just have to teach as much as I can. Like, I teach guitar and bass for a living, and right. I love it. Like, it's awesome work. But yeah, I have to be very frugal with my money a lot of the time, which is fine. Like, I'm not a big spender anyway. I don't consume a lot of shit, to be honest. So I try and keep it as bare minimum as possible. But it can be pretty testing sometimes when you're looking at the tour budget and you're going, I need to scrape together like $2,000 just to get from one place to another. And it's like, yeah, it can be really full on. Sometimes it's like emotionally draining. But at the end of the day, it's like, I'm putting myself in this position and I'm only doing it because I absolutely love it to death. So, you know, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. And I should tell people too that they can actually find out more about you, and I'm sure that they will want to find out more about you at statues.band is your website.
Yep.
And on Facebook you are Statues AU. Yep. And people should definitely go and give you a like and keep up with everything you're doing. And you are currently touring, and tomorrow, Saturday the 24th, you're at the Yarra Hotel in Melbourne. Sunday the 25th, you're at Wrangler Studios for an all-ages show. And then, back 3rd and 4th of March, you're back in Perth and you're taking Arteries with you. And do you have an idea, like, are you guys hoping to get back to the East Coast maybe later this year, or are you not thinking about that at the moment?
We would definitely like to. I think the next time we come over, we would really like to nab a tour support if at all possible. But I mean, that stuff is so up in the air. But if that doesn't end up happening, then I think that we'll try and make our way back over probably for the end of the year, I think. Yeah, definitely.
And the album No Grave, No Burial is out now. And if people go to your Facebook or your website, they can find the links to grab hold of that. And on your website, you do have your Instagram and Spotify and YouTube, Bandcamp links and everything, because the album is on Bandcamp too. Yeah. Yeah, we like to redirect people to the Bandcamp because that's sort of the home base for all of our music and merch as well. So the Bandcamp is pretty much the place to go for that stuff. statuesau.bandcamp.com for that. And the album, like the digital copy of the album, is only $12. That's pretty good. Yeah, totally. I mean, we wanted to get it under the iTunes price as well, because I think that iTunes is overpriced. I think you shouldn't be paying more than $10 to $12 for a digital myself. So yeah, we wanted to keep that at a good budget for everybody. You've got a lot of releases on here, actually. Yeah, there's a couple of smaller releases. We have a demo, we have a 7-inch and a split 10-inch that we did with Life Pilot, who we're actually playing with in Adelaide, which is awesome because we haven't played with those guys in a very long time, so we're super keen to get back together and play another show because it's always good fun with those guys. Awesome. Well, I hope it goes really well. I really hope the tour goes well and that people show up and grab hold of some merch and that to help you buy more plane tickets to come back. Yeah, damn straight. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. And I hope it all kind of works out too. Yeah. Is there something you want to say to your fans to get them to come out and see your show? And I don't think you have to say anything to get them to grab the album. I think you've already sparked their interest in that. Oh, well, I mean, I guess the message that I try and send as much as possible as a person is to do your best to pursue the things you love, and just a big thank you to anyone who cares about what we do. You know, it's cool. It's listeners that make the whole thing operate, so we really appreciate it. And I do think that this album's going to have a lot broader range for people to get into, and people who have already seen you before. I was going to say they haven't seen you play with Alex, but he was probably on the national you did last year, wasn't he? Yeah, that was our first national as that lineup. But he would have been singing more of your older tracks rather than these new ones. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think we only played 2 tunes from the new record. So this time around, the set list is fairly heavily swung to new record stuff, which we're really stoked about.
So we're very, very excited to play these new tunes live.
And I think,
awesome.
the fact that he wrote them, these are part of him as well as part of the band, is going to make the performance a lot better.
Yeah, you're totally right. Absolutely. And he's going to be stoked to perform the songs that he's put his blood, sweat and tears into. So, yeah, it's going to feel much more like this era of the band, definitely.
Yeah. Awesome. That's fantastic. It has been great talking to you. Thank you so much.
No problems at all. Likewise.
Awesome. So it has been fun, and I will definitely try and get down and see you guys, and I do hope you have a great time.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully I'll see you there.
Yeah, have a good night.
You too. Catch you soon.
Day. Bye.
Yeah. See you later.